Welcome to Volume 2 of How to Deal with Difficult People with your hosts, Dr. Rick Brinkman and Dr. Rick Kirschner.
Welcome back to How to Deal with Difficult People, Volume 2.
Now, we just want to review what we did in the first volume of this program. We talked about the 4 steps of effectiveness. Know what you want, pay close attention, be flexible, and make the commitment. That overview applies to this volume of the program as well, because to get a result with a tank, sniper, grenade, know-it-all, think-to-know-all, yes, no, nothing, maybe you're a chronic complainer, you must know what it is you want, which we're going to provide you. Pay close attention and know where they're coming from. Be flexible enough to respond and committed to that result.
And we made a window of the world so you could see where your difficult person is coming from. Remember the 4 intents: to get things done, to get things right, to get along, and to get appreciated. You'll see what happens when those intents are not met and how people get really difficult.
We interrupt this program to bring you a late-breaking news flash. We go now to our anchorman, Roger Clay, from our studios in Boulder, Colorado.
This is Roger Clay at the WDDP News Desk, just in. The difficult people problem has reached new and staggering proportions both here and abroad. Doctors Brinkman and Kirschner, sometimes called the difficult people paradox, are at this very moment at work on a plan to resolve these difficulties. Meanwhile, it would seem that difficult people are holding hope hostage to helplessness. We switch now to our on-the-street reporter, Ralph Dander, and our live minicam. Ralph, this is Roger.
Roger, this is Ralph, and it's a regular revolution out here. Tanks flattening employees, snipers picking people off at the cooler, and people running in fear of grenades exploding.
Ralph, is there any hope?
Some say yes, some say no, others say nothing at all. But Doctors Brinkman and Kirschner have developed 10 strategies for dealing with a difficult person, and they feel if they watch their video and enjoy themselves, in time, everything will be all right. This is Ralph Dander, WDDP's Man on the Street reporting. Back to you, Roger.
Roger, Ralph. This is Roger Clay. Stay tuned to this channel for fast-breaking updates on our lead story, the Difficult People Crisis. We return you now to our regularly scheduled broadcast.
So we're going to start in the ruler quadrant. And as you may recall, rulers have the intent to get things done. They need control because it makes them feel like things will get done. And in terms of communication, bottom line, bottom line. If things are out of control, you will stress your ruler out greatly, and they may become 3 difficult people. Not all at the same time, of course, but they may be a tank. This is the person who goes, boom, and they run right over you. Martial law, I'm in control, this is how we're doing it. Orders established, we're back on track. Or sometimes it's not appropriate to be that aggressive, in which case we have the sniper. This is the person who hides in the trees of social constraint and then, boop, gets you. Another way of maintaining control by cutting you down. And the third difficult person we see in this quadrant is the know-it-all. They just maintain control in general. They know 90% of anything, just ask them. And they manage to keep everyone else's ideas at a distance. This is how they maintain control. So the first difficult person we will see will be the tank. Let's watch the tank in action.
If you think I'm going to sit through another one of your rambling presentations, you've got another thing coming. Now either get to the point or quit wasting my time.
But sir, I really think...
Here, just sit still. You waste all that time with those insignificant details. For what? To cover your lack of organization. You've been with us for only 2 weeks, and already you're a month behind in your work. One incompetent like you can foul up the whole works. I'm busy enough without having to do your job as well. If left to you, it'll never get done.
Why are they like that? Well, something's out of control. And very often, if you're not part of the solution, they'll see you as part of the problem. Maybe they see you as part of the problem. Tanks are usually very specific about who they nail. They can nail somebody in one moment and then just turn around and be semi-normal in the next. Your #1 goal when dealing with this person is to command their respect. If you want to pace them, you will have to be assertive. There are 5 action steps to accomplishing this. The first one is hold your ground. You can't be pushed back by the tank. Now, how do you do this? Well, first thing to do is keep breathing. Or start, in some cases. Very often when we're under attack, we stop breathing. And it's not like we stop completely and we turn blue and fall down, but we do decrease our breathing. This is the time where you really need to think clearly. You need to send a lot of oxygen to your brain. So you want to go breathe in and breathe out. The second thing breathing will accomplish is it'll dissociate you a little bit from your emotional response. Usually there's two general emotional responses to the tank. One is to run and hide or cry, and the other is to kill that bleep. And neither of those will get you what you want. So you want to just start breathing deeply. And while you're doing that, just look the tank right in the eye and give them some time to unwind. Very often after they've got a little out of their system, they're a little bit easier to deal with. Realize that when you're assertive like that and you look somebody in the eye, you're demonstrating assertive behavior. Now, in some cases with some tanks, this is all you're really going to want to do. You may want to draw the line right here. I had a captain in the Coast Guard in a seminar once, and he said, well, frankly, if the Admiral tells me I'm a genetic mistake, I have to say, yes, sir. And that's about it. But I asked him, well, what would be assertive behavior? And he said, well, the Admiral would certainly respect if I just stood there and took it, and if I responded appropriately with a positive direction. And see, here's the key with the ruler. They want to move forward. If they see you're moving forward, then very often they back off. So just imagine for a moment that the tank has accused you of something. Like in our example, too many details. What if you realize, well, I do have analyzer tendencies, and I am kind of in love with my graphing program on my computer. Maybe there are too many details here. If they're right, then the best thing to do is admit it quick. Don't waste a lot of time with sniveling or groveling. They hate that. That will make it worse. Just say you're right, and here's what we're going to do about it. Head right for the future. If they see that you're moving forward, then they back off. Now, in some cases, though, you'll certainly want to go farther. And so if you do, your second step is to interrupt the interruption. How you do that is, first of all, in terms of the 7% speech, call the person's name. Frank, Mr. Bintner, sir, ma'am. Depends how you know this person. The second thing you may want to do is raise the volume of your voice slightly, balancing it with the tanks, but never exceeding it. You don't want to be aggressive with the tank, but if the tank is yelling at you, you will have to raise your volume a bit just so you can be heard by them. But do not exceed the tank. And then what you can also do in terms of your 55% is just go, excuse me, excuse me. Sometimes if you move your hands like this, especially if somebody is thinking visually, it disrupts their inner pictures and you get their attention. Let's watch our person do this.
If you think I'm going to sit through another one of your rambling presentations, you've got another thing coming. Now, either get to the point or quit wasting my time.
But, sir, I really...
Here, just sit still. You waste all that time with such insignificant details. For what? To cover your lack of organization. You've already been with us for 2 weeks, and you're more than a month behind in your work.
Sir.
It's obvious to everyone that you have no real idea what needs to be done.
Mr. Bildit, excuse me, sir. You are interrupting me. Mr. Bildit, excuse me, sir.
Now, some of you may wonder, well, can I do this with a boss? And the fact is, what you have to remember is that you are not being aggressive here, even though the tank is. You're only being assertive. And there's nothing that makes an assertive person more angry than somebody who's being wimpy. If they can see you standing up for yourself, but without aggression in a very professional manner, then you will create more common ground. The next step in your strategy is to quickly backtrack whatever the tank gives you. You may have all had the experience of being in an argument with someone and they don't really fight back. What does that do to the energy of the argument? Kind of just diffuses it. That's exactly what you want to do here. If they say, you must be a genetic mistake, don't defend yourself by saying, oh no, my mother had amniocentesis, I can bring in the chromogram, show you my genes, I'm definitely not a mistake. See, if you defend yourself, what are they going to do? They're going to offend. Every defense you put up will bring offense from your tank. But if you just backtrack whatever they say, I understand you think I'm a genetic mistake, and I've been with this company 2 months, and I'm already 3 months behind. They go, yeah, you just diffused it a little bit. But beware, you need to be quick about this. Remember, the tank wants to move forward, and they're stressed out because something has stalled. So you want to quickly backtrack to create some diffusion, and then aim right at the bottom line. Tell them clearly what it is you're doing. For example, maybe these details are going to support the bottom line of the project or whatever you're working on. They may not see that. Then you want to come right out and tell them what's in it for them. Right at the bottom line. What does the tank want to hear right now? I am on purpose. If nothing else, what you can do is you can appreciate the tank for, I know you want to get this done, and you probably have a better way to do it. Very often the tank thinks they have a better way to do it, otherwise they wouldn't be nailing you, because they think your way is inferior. Guaranteed, if you say, I appreciate the need to get things done, and you think you have a better way to do it, you're going to pace this person. Any pacing you do is a drop in the bucket towards cooperation between you. It all counts. The other thing to do when you are aiming at the bottom line is speak in terms of your own point of view. This means I language. So in my opinion, these details are going to support the bottom line. I know. This would be opposed to everybody knows this supports the bottom line. This will create more offense on the tank. But if you just go, in my opinion, these details are supporting the bottom line, then the tank may start to back off, because now they know you're moving forward. Your final step in the strategy is to offer them peace with honor. Offer peace with honor. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's say you were interrupted doing something and it's important to you to finish what you're doing. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is start to lead back to what you were doing before you were interrupted. The best way to lead out of tank attack is through a presupposition. Has anybody ever said to you, will you pay cash or credit? What are they presupposing? That you're going to pay, right? You're going to pay cash or credit, you're going to pay something. Has anybody ever, well, they may not have said, how about this? When we come back from lunch, what am I presupposing? That you're going to come back. Usually a when will guarantee you to create a presupposition. So listen to this. If I say to my tank, when I'm finished with my presentation, I'll be glad to hear your feedback. What am I presupposing is true? Right? That I'm going to finish, and then he'll give me feedback. And that's the second part of peace with honor. After you presuppose that you're going to finish, offer them the last word. That this doesn't have to be done. If there's something they want to communicate to you, they can still do that. This creates an honorable end. Beware of getting in the trap of asking your tank, may I continue now? Because chances are if you're in full-scale attack, the answer will be no. However, do realize that this is actually a very smart thing to do with rulers in general. When you ask them, well, what do you think I should do? You're giving them control, and you're pacing them. But under full-scale tank attack, it's better to lead in a different way. Assertive people like assertive people. Let's take a look.
Mr. Bildit, excuse me, sir, you are interrupting me. I understand that you think I'm wasting time with the details, and that I've only been with the company 2 weeks and I'm already a month behind.
That's right. It's obvious to everyone that you have no real idea of what needs to be done.
And I hear that it's obvious to everyone that I have no real idea of what needs to be done.
Well, then let's get to the point and do something.
All right, here's the point. Taking a few moments now to be careful with the details will save us a lot of time and money in the long run. I don't believe you've seen yet how my proposal supports our success. When I've finished my presentation, I would be happy to hear your feedback.
Your goal with the tank is to command respect. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Hold your ground. 2. Interrupt the interruptions. 3. Quickly backtrack the tank. 4. Aim at the bottom line. 5. Offer peace with honor.
Oh.
So,
So are you going to present this next piece?
yes, I am.
On the sniper?
Yeah.
Great. I can't wait to hear the long way around the subject.
Sounds like a personal problem, right? By the way, what happened to your Get out of here. We're going to talk now about snipers. And snipers are those rulers or entertainers that take the shot at you. And you may not see it coming. Sometimes they do it right there in the room where you are, and sometimes they do it behind your back. How many of you have ever been shot at by a sniper? Understand that snipers work like this. They find a tree on the edge of your encampment. They climb up in that tree, take their position, and take aim at a spot out there in the open and wait for you to cross through. In that moment when you cross through, when you're most vulnerable, that's when they take their shot. If this is a ruler sniper doing this, their intent is to make you stumble and fall, look like a fool, so they can take control and move forward. If this is an entertainer sniper, well, basically that's just somebody that grew up in New York City or was raised by people that grew up in New York City. See, in New York City, they've learned that the way to be friendly is to put people down, and they take shots at each other like, eh, shut up or I'll break your legs off and hit you over the head with them, and this means that they want to be your best friend. You go, ah. Problem for New Yorkers, they move out of New York City and go all over the country. Nobody understands this. And they wind up being forced to move to Hollywood where they write scripts for sitcoms because people are willing to accept their sarcasm that way. Let me give you an example of a sniper attack.
And by promoting our new product in the Northeast, we ought to be able to improve our sales in the next quarter.
Well, if your idea worked as good as you look, baby, we could probably go along with it.
Excuse me? What did you mean by that?
Hey, don't get all emotional. Can't you take a joke?
The sniper specialty. Snipers hide. This is what they do best. They hide. And then they use sarcasm or rude comments and remarks or anything that they know is bound to make you trip and fall. They use this against you. They wait for that moment of vulnerability, and that's when they take their shot. Now, all you need to do is remember this. Snipers can't snipe if snipers can't hide. Your goal in dealing with snipers is to bring them out of hiding. Now, of all the strategies we have to share with you today, I want you to know this is my personal favorite. This works really well. It's definitely an empowerment strategy. Take note, there are 5 action steps to bring a sniper out of hiding. Action step number 1 is called stop, look, and backtrack. So there you are, you're at that meeting, you're making your point, and all of a sudden the sniper makes that remark. Well, what you do is you stop, and if this means you're in the middle of a sentence, you stop in the middle of the sentence. You stop right where you are, and then slowly I turn. You line that sniper up in your sights, boop, 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 and look right into their eyes, and then say back that remark. Folks, is a joke funny the second time it's been said? How about the 3rd or 4th time? If you can take the sting out of that remark, you can literally let it drop harmlessly to the floor instead of being tripped up by it. So you stop, slowly I turn, look, and then backtrack that remark. So, Charlie, I hear you just say, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I won't provide you with any sniper remarks here today. I like to use the generic da-da-da-da-da-da-da, but that's that rude thing or that sarcastic remark that they made. I just heard you say da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then you go to step 2. Step 2 is you turn on the searchlight with a question. That's right, snipers can't snipe if snipers can't hide. Now, there are 2 kinds of searchlight questions. We're going to deal with them one at a time. The first is called the relevancy question. Now, I first learned the relevancy question in an innocent situation. I took my daughter to a movie in Medford, in Oregon, and we're standing in line at the theater, and the guy in front of us says to the gal behind the window, "How much are tickets?" She says, $4.50 for adults, $2.50 for kids. He says, "I'll take 2 boys and a girl, please." She did what a lot of you just did. She went. Now, in Oregon, we call this look trout-mouthed. In neurolinguistics, it's called going on a transderivational search for meaning. But whatever you call it, it's the look of confusion. That's when somebody says something that makes no sense at all to you, and you go into your mind and start repeating it over and over and over again, try to figure it out. How many of you have ever been in a meeting that seemed to be going somewhere, and then all of a sudden it lost its purpose? That ever happened to you? How about, have you ever been in a meeting that never had a purpose to begin with? Well, this searchlight question for relevancy is very powerful. The question is, what does that have to do with this? So, for example, in the case of our meeting situation, stop, slowly I turn, look, backtrack. Charlie, I hear you say, da-da-da-da-da-da. Charlie, it's my understanding the purpose of this meeting is to open up new markets and raise profits. Charlie, how does da-da-da-da-da-da-da, thus saying it again, help us accomplish that goal? Let's see this in action.
And by promoting our new product in the Northeast, we ought to be able to improve our sales by the next quarter.
Well, if your idea worked as good as you look, baby, we could probably go along with it.
I hear you saying that if my idea worked as good as I look, then we could probably go along with it. It is my understanding that the purpose of this meeting is to find ways to increase our sales. What does the way I look have to do with increasing our sales?
Can't you take a joke?
I hear you saying, can't you take a joke? And I'm curious, what does taking a joke have to do with increasing our sales?
Nothing. Forget it, all right?
As I was saying...
Now, that is a very professional way of handling a very unprofessional behavior. And that's what we mean by empowering yourself to deal with people when they're being difficult. Now, just to complete on the relevancy question, if you're ever at a meeting that has no purpose, you can take over. All you have to do is take the last thing that anybody said and backtrack it, say, I just heard you say da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm curious, what does that have to do with? And then aim the meeting. And everybody else will go. That's your chance to run with it. All right. That's the searchlight question for relevancy. But there's another searchlight question you can ask. And this is the question to discover the purpose behind their remark, to bring their intent to the surface. You know, sometimes a ruler who's not in control of a situation carries a grudge for that reason. And they wait until you're vulnerable and then try to bring you to the ground so that they can take over, while you wind up looking like a fool. If you'd like to expose this kind of attack, all you need to do is ask this question. what are you really trying to say? Stop. Slowly I turn, look right at that sniper, and backtrack. I just heard you say da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Charlie, when you say da-da-da-da-da-da-da, what are you really trying to say? Let's see this in action.
By promoting our new product line in the Northeast, we ought to be able to improve our sales in the next quarter.
Well, if your idea worked as good as you look, baby, we could probably go along with it, huh?
I heard you say if my idea worked as good as I look, we could probably go along with it. When you say that, what are you really trying to say?
What's the matter with you? Can't you take a joke?
I hear you saying, can't you take a joke? When you ask me that, what are you really trying to say?
Nothing. Forget it, all right?
As I was saying, if we promote our new...
Isn't it nice to know there are things you can say and do that deal well with difficult people? Now, I want you to know Charlie had a couple other options there. The option he chose was to shut up. That's acceptable, because the object here is to bring them out of hiding, expose their position, and move forward. But Charlie has another option. Charlie could drop down out of the tree and become a tank. Sounds like this. You want to know what I'm trying to say? I'll tell you what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you're an idiot. You've been here 2 weeks and you're already a month behind. And you're like, oh no, here it goes again. Listen, if the sniper becomes a tank, immediately use the tank strategy. Remember the tank strategy? Your goal is to command their respect by holding your ground, backtracking their remarks. Remember all this? To deal with somebody who's tanking you, you use the tank strategy. Now, this is the value of positively replaying these skills in past incidents so that they're right there for you, lined up on the runway for when you need them. I have to tell you that it wasn't that long ago. I emceed a melodrama in Talent, Oregon, and I just did it for the fun of telling jokes without having teaching to fall back on. And it's kind of like that. And it was kind of a fun thing to do for me, but I have to tell you that second night of the show, I got verbally assaulted by 15 drunks in an audience of 200 people. They were about as rude as people can be in public and beyond. And I didn't know how to handle it. And I got very offended, and I literally stormed off the stage 2/3 of the way through the show, got in my car and drove home. Whole way reviewing this thing in my mind so I wouldn't miss out on the badness of it. And, but you know, when I got home, I said, what is it I want? The next time this happens, how do I want to handle this? And I thought, I want to be able to handle hecklers. And I took it a step further. I don't want to just handle them. I want to enjoy handling hecklers. Now, I want to make a point here, which is that don't just set your sights for coping or dealing with difficult people. Aim for enjoying it. That way, when somebody makes a sniper remark or a tank attack begins to occur, you're going to be like this. All right! It's a different attitude entirely. So I went to the library and got myself a book on put-downs, because this is how you handle hecklers. And I memorized 20 of them. And I tell you this because this is the power of positively replaying. I guarantee you, when I went back to the theater the following weekend and somebody made a sniper remark, I was so psyched up. I was like, stop, look. And in this case, I looked back at the audience. I said, you know, that guy's angry, but he's got every reason to be. Yeah, he was abandoned by wolves as a child and raised by his parents. And I got 19 more of these, anybody's interested. But the point here is, the positive replay puts you back in the driver's seat in a potentially difficult situation in a very professional way, including if you need to use the tank strategy. This brings us to our fourth action step, which is, if the sniper will talk, listen. Now, I like to say something about listening powerfully here. Listening powerfully means that you help the person express themselves. If they're willing to come right out and tell you what the problem is, and you ask them what the problem is, this means instead of defending, explaining, and justifying, or making excuses, you help them by backtracking and clarifying, so you bring the whole grudge to the surface. This completes the communication cycle, builds common ground between you, and increases the likelihood of cooperation the next time you have to deal with this person. If they'll talk, listen. This brings us to our next action step, which is suggest a civil future. Now, when I talk about suggesting a civil future, I'm talking about preparing this person for the next time. And there's a couple points I like to make here. The first one is you can always set a great example of what a civil future can be like. And that means that if there is a problem and you're a part of that problem, you own it. I don't mean lease with an option to buy. I mean you own it. You say, yes, I hear what you're saying. I am taking too long in this meeting. I'll get to the point right now. But next time, just come right out and tell me. and offer them that opportunity. They may never have thought what else they might do. You plant the seed in their mind that may bear fruit at a later time. And offering that alternative is a very important second point on suggesting a civil future. Really offer them an alternative. Don't expect them to come up with one on their own. It's highly unlikely that they'll be able to.
Your goal with a sniper is to bring them out of hiding. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Stop, look, and backtrack. 2. Use searchlight questions. 3. Use tank strategy if needed. 4. If they'll talk, listen. 5. Suggest a civil future.
Good job.
Thanks, yeah.
I think it's time that they try it in the field.
I guess so.
What do you say we introduce them to Lenny and Bert, those streetwise New Yorkers?
Oh,
they
Rick,
know how to handle snipers.
Yeah, they know how to handle hypers. Remember what they did last time? They really messed it up.
That's true, they really did, huh?
Sure you want to?
Well, let's give them another chance.
It's always a second chance for flexibility in the communications.
Yeah.
All right.
Introducing Lenny and Bert. We take you now to the streets of New York. Welcome to the city streets, which, let's face it, is like a fantasy island for people who get hostile and aggressive.
Yeah, you're about to learn some sniper defense systems.
So what are we waiting for? Let's attack our subject. What if you're walking along and all of a sudden somebody verbally attacks you? How are you going to handle this difficult person? Let us demonstrate. Lenny?
Yeah?
Insult me.
You want me to insult you?
Yeah, hit me with your best shot.
Okay. Hey, I got a great idea. Let's play horse. I'll be the head, you be yourself.
Oh.
Hey, count to 3. See if you could do it from memory.
Oh. Now, you don't want to ignore this type of behavior. In fact, you've got to draw attention to it. Check it out. So, Lenny, when I hear you say these things,
Yeah?
what, do I detect a note of sarcasm or what?
Ah, nah, what's the matter? You can't take a joke? By the way, I heard you lost your last job because of illness and fatigue. Yeah, they got sick and tired of you.
Oh. Now, sometimes the sniper may be holding a grudge against you. You're going to want to do a little recognizance to probe for the grievance. So, Lenny,
Yeah?
when you say these things, I'm wondering, is there something going on between us I should know about?
No, don't get so emotional.
Now, sometimes it's useful to take a stand behind the purpose of your gang's meeting and make sure you ask for the relevancy of the remark. So, Lenny, when you say these things,
Yeah.
I mean, here we are trying to teach these people about sniper attacks. You're saying this stuff to me. I'm just wondering, how's that relevant to the subject?
Well, geez, Bert. I mean, what would I learn if nobody was here to insult you, huh?
Well, that's true.
And besides, you asked me to insult you, Bert.
Oh, yeah.
Geez, you know, you must be a twin. No one person could be that stupid.
So, what can you learn from this little example?
We don't know.
But we'll tell you this. When you're being sniped at, don't ignore it. You gotta bring them out of hiding and face them, face to face. And
Yeah.
while we're on the subject, Lenny and I never forget a face.
No?
But in your case,
Yeah.
I'm willing to make an exception.
Ah, geez, Louise, Bert, give me a break, huh?
Our next difficult person in the ruler quadrant is the know-it-all. They have the same task focus and aggressive tendencies as the tank, but with a twist.
Sounds like a drink.
Shut up. And they have to be recognized for their knowledge.
I knew that.
First, we're going to deal with the know-it-all. Later, the think they know-it-all. Let's watch a know-it-all in action.
So, distal peripheral neuropathy, gaussitis, and a palpable firm smooth liver with a blunt edge are, as we all know, characteristic signs of the onset of alcoholic cirrhosis. Now, in theory, the treatment is straightforward. Get the patient to stop drinking, a nutritious diet, and perhaps some corticosteroids to control the hepatitis.
Dr. Leavitt, sir?
Yes, Boswell.
I believe there's something else we can do to help restore liver function. I was reading in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition about the amino acid L-carnitine, which is
Boswell,
found
have
to...
you been hanging out in health food stores again?
No, sir.
I'll hear no more of this nonsense from you. Now, as I was saying, the treatment is straightforward. Next case.
Why are they like that? It's almost as if the know-it-all is threatened by other ideas that are not theirs. And so they maintain control by gathering to them a wide body of knowledge, which is very much almost complete enough to keep everyone else at the distance, but of course not 100%. Your #1 goal with a know-it-all, let's face it, is to open their mind to new ideas. You want to be able to get your 2 cents in, because everybody's 2 cents is important. First action step, know your stuff. Whatever you're going to talk to them about, make sure you know what you're talking about. Because let's face it, if they can pick out flaws in your ideas, whoosh, that's right what they'll hold up against you. Your second action step is to backtrack with respect. Say back to them everything they say, and I do mean everything. This will be the person you will have to backtrack the most, profusely. You don't want to get a know-it-all in one of those repetitive cycles, feeling like they're not heard, so they repeat themselves over and over. Let's face it, their spiel is awful long, and you're going to cause yourself great pain if you do. So it's going to shut them up, which will make you feel better. And if you're respectful in your tone of voice and your expression, they will see that you respect their knowledge, and you will not be so threatening to them. That's what we're going for here. We're minimizing the threat. Third, take into account their doubts and desires. If they have a consideration to something you're going to say, and you know it, that they're going to have this consideration, say it before they say it. And I don't mean just give lip service to it. I mean explain your understanding of it fully. Realize that it's a lot easier to prevent somebody from getting on a soapbox about an issue than it is to get them off once they're up there. So make sure you pace their considerations up front. Then think about what are their desires, what are they interested in. If you have a new idea and you can somehow show how that idea supports something that they are interested in, well, then you're going to pull the know-it-all onto your side as an ally. Your fourth action step is to present the idea safely, so to speak. Be indirect in how you present your alternatives. This, first of all, means speak hypothetically. I know this may be a bit of a detour, but what do you suppose? I was just wondering. Perhaps, maybe. See, these are hypothetical words. You're not saying that you're sure about something. You're being real indirect. The other thing to do with your know-it-all is use plural pronouns. What do you suppose if we were to do something? What do you suppose if we were to try this thing? Whereas with the tank, you want I language. With the know-it-all, you want we. Again, it minimizes defensiveness on their part. The last part is to put it in terms of a question. Let's face it, know-it-alls have knowledge. They like to answer questions. Ask a question, and you start controlling the interaction. What do you suppose if we were to try this out in the third quarter? Well, you automatically get them to consider your idea. And last but not least, turn them into mentors. For example, tell the know-it-all that you do respect their knowledge and you'd like to learn from them. And all of a sudden, instead of seeing you as a threat to them, they'll see you as a budding student that they can start sharing their knowledge with, and immediately that can turn around the relationship. So let's go to a parallel universe where young Dr. Boswell knew how to deal with the know-it-all.
Now, the laboratory tests indicate that the white blood cell count is elevated, and we're seeing the usual anemia. Liver function tests are abnormal, including serum bilirubin, SGOT, SGBT, and serum alkaline phosphatase. Now, in theory, the treatment is straightforward, though often difficult. Stop drinking, nutritious diet, and perhaps some corticosteroids to control the hepatitis.
Dr. Leavitt, sir?
Yes, Boswell.
Let me just check here. If I understand you correctly, we're seeing peripheral neuropathy, glossitis, and tender hepatomegaly, and these are the characteristic signs of alcoholic cirrhosis.
That's correct.
And, sir, laboratory tests indicate that the white blood cell count is elevated, liver function tests are abnormal, and we're seeing the characteristic anemia?
Yes, yes.
Well, let me just check one thing with you then. The nutritious dietary treatment you're recommending, according to the Merck manual, that's 70 grams of protein is tolerated by the patient per day. Would you go along with that, sir?
Yes, I would. That's very good, Boswell. You've been doing your homework.
Thank you, sir. Your knowledge inspires me to know more. Sir, I know this may be a bit of a detour, but I was reading in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition about the amino acid L-carnitine and its effects on liver function. Now, sir, I know you're feeling about health supplements because, after all, none of us want a patient to be treating themselves and distracting themselves from proper treatment. However, here's a patient who wants that sort of thing, and I'm thinking patient compliance here. And, sir, certainly you remember Lieberman's article on the placebo phenomenon?
Yes, I recall that article.
Well, sir, since it couldn't hurt and will help with patient compliance, and according to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, can actually help restore liver function, 500 milligrams BID, what do you suppose of prescribing L-carnitine, sir?
Well, I don't suppose it could hurt anything. Go right ahead with that.
Thank you, sir.
Next case.
Notice all the backtracking that young Dr. Boswell had to do. Notice how he paced doubts right up front. I know you're feeling about health supplements. how he linked it to a desire that Dr. Leavitt had. Well, I'm thinking patient compliance here, and presented it indirectly. Starting out, I know this may be a bit of a detour. Then when it came to presenting about L-carnitine, what do you suppose if we were to prescribe L-carnitine? And before you knew it, Dr. Leavitt went along. Now, what you might notice about this strategy is you better have a flexible back before you use it. In fact, you better see your chiropractor, because there's a lot of, oh, great one. Oh, may I put my 2 cents in simsalabim? And that's true. And the first action step with any difficult person is it worth it to you? Weigh the value. Is it worth it to you to get the result you want? If it's worth it to you, you do what it takes. If it's not, you don't. But there's good news, because the fact is, if you were to run through the same strategy with your know-it-all over and over again, what happens? You become less threatening to them in general. You start getting ideas in. They work out. They elevate you in respect in their eyes. And before you know it, it will take less and less backtracking to be heard, which is really part of the painful part. And you won't have to be so indirect about your ideas, because they will respect you more. And the truth is, this was a dramatization of a real-life story. And by the time our friend Boswell graduated, Dr. Leavitt would turn to him and say, "So, Boswell, what does the nutritional world hold for this patient?" It's not that Leavitt changed and stopped being a know-it-all. In fact, he was the same with everybody else. But when he looked at Boswell, he said, "Young budding know-it-all, just like me in my med school days." He changed because Boswell was elevated in respect in his eyes. So if it's worth it, you do what it takes.
Your goal with a know-it-all is to open their mind to new ideas. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Know your stuff. 2. Backtrack with respect. 3. Take into account their doubts and desires. 4. Present alternatives indirectly. 5. Turn them into mentors.
We're now about to enter fully into the entertainer quadrant of the window. Those people who are people-focused and highly assertive all the way up to aggressive behavior. And somebody asked me earlier, what's so good about that entertainer quadrant? I'd just like to answer that right now. You know, yes, they are focused on themselves, but that's just because they're very fast-paced, moving very quickly, and they're the only person that's everywhere they go. It's the only reason they're like that. And that self-esteem part of us is very important to honor. But you know, early in life, some people don't feel very important. And so they start looking for ways to get their attention needs met. And some people, some entertainers that I know and that you know, learned early in life that you can't fool all the people all the time, but you can fool some of the people some of the time, and if you speak loudly enough and enthusiastically enough, you may be able to mislead large groups of people all at one time. And so they grab onto fragments of ideas and information and put them together and present them well and hope that that's enough to get them that attention that they crave. Let's see the think they know it all in action.
Okay, let's start this meeting. We need to get a desktop computer system. And of course, you know, we're somewhat computer illiterate. So we need to find a system that's not only the right price and function, but the simpler to operate, the better.
Well, sir, with an eye toward those needs of price, function, and simplicity of operation, I would suggest we take a look at the Bartlett by Pear. It's supposed to be...
Bartlett by Pear? We're talking fruit or computers here? Listen, they're too slow. The disks are too small, and they aren't even in color. Hey, I know a lot about computers. In fact, I'm a computer expert. I've had a personal computer for 20 years now. I got this Real Power user at home. Let me tell you, this is some computer. It uses software, yeah, and that's very, very important. BMI or BMI computable is the only way to go. Everybody knows that. Give me $1 million, I'll buy for the whole company.
There they go again, the think they know it all. Sometimes when their mouth is open, don't you kind of wish somebody put a sock in it? Because when they get going, they really get going. Now, how do you deal with this difficult person? Well, your goal with the think they know it all is to give their bad ideas the hook, but without putting them on the defensive. You see, you may think of these people as liars, but to themselves, they're not liars. They're speakers of progressive truth. Yeah, that's it. Things that get truer as time passes, one of those kind of truths. You see, it works like this. If you make a think-they-know-it-all defend their position by, you know, imagine in this situation, you probably turn and you'd be sitting there thinking, what an idiot. What a complete idiot. People like this. But the worst case scenario is that everybody else at that meeting will go, what do you recommend? And believe me, they'll have some kind of recommendation. And the worst thing in the world you could do is to come right out and say, you are an idiot. And I got to work with you. You're a complete moron. How dare you speak? All you got to do is put them on the defensive, and they will begin to defend their point of view over and over and over again. And the problem with this is that every time the words leave their mouth, they come back in through both of their ears. And then they think two people just agreed with them. It's called rapidly building a consensus. You know, it's like, look, everybody thinks this way now. So, so your goal is to give their bad ideas the hook. And here's how to do it. Action step number 1 is simply backtrack what they've said. Action step number 2 is ask them for specifics. Now, of course, when you backtrack and ask for specifics, they'll give you back something called circular logic. In other words, everything they say leads back to the last thing they said. Sort of like, what do you recommend? And they'll say, we need a computer that uses software. And you say, software? What kind of software do you recommend? And they'll say, the kind that works in computers. And you say, what kind of computer? The kind that uses software, and around it goes. So backtrack, ask for specifics, and when you see that they're right up against the limitations of their actual knowledge, then give them a way out so they don't have to dig in their heels. Give them a way out. Now, my favorite way to give a think-they-know-it-all way out is to use what I call junk-o logic. You spell that kind of like filet-o-fish, if you'd like to write that down. Junk-o logic is when you take two completely unrelated ideas and string them together like there's a connection. In this case, their idea and your idea. It sounds like this. So I hear you say software and computers, and you know, I'm so glad that you brought that up because, and then action step number 4 is to tell it like it is, using I language and, whenever possible, documentation. I'm so glad you brought that up because, you know, something that I've heard or something that I've read or from my point of view, and then back it up with documentation. I want you to realize that whenever you bring anything in writing in the form of a document to a know-it-all or a think-they-know-it-all, the likelihood of them seeing what it is that you're communicating about is increased because you're adding the 55% to the sound of your voice. Documentation. And finally, give credit when credit is due. This is the 5th action step. This step is here to break the negative cycle. Let me explain. You know, if you have to work with one of these think-they-know-it-all people, chances are you dislike them greatly. And whenever they talk, you hate them a little bit or more. You know what I'm saying? Which means that whenever they do something that is valuable or valid or worthwhile, you tend to think of it as a fluke, and you overlook it. Which means they have to try harder to win your approval. Of course, their mechanism for doing that is obnoxious to you, so you overlook some more. So they try even harder. You overlook some more. Try harder. Break the negative cycle. And the way to break the negative cycle is to give credit when credit is due. Notice what they're doing right and say something about it. You know, it's a very powerful strategy to turn to people and say things like, that's what I like about you, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and spell out what it is you'd like to see more of so that it makes a stronger impression on their mind than the fluke of them having done it once. That's what I like about you. So, let's see this strategy in action.
BMI or BMI computable is the only way to go. Everybody knows that.
You know, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I might not have thought of this if you hadn't said that. Because I've been reading the latest issues of Pair User and Byte magazine.
Oh, yeah. I read all those magazines, too.
Oh, you have? Then you must have seen the latest article about the Bartlett 2. I remember reading that the new Bartlett has a color monitor, has open architecture, has a card available so that any BMI files can be read, and it's fast, with its inner clock set to 15.367 megahertz. And as I recall it, I read that those smaller 3.5-inch discs fit 800K on a double side, which is significantly more than any other kind. And what I read in another article by an independent research firm is that it takes a computer illiterate 1/10 of the time to be up and working productively on a Bartlett than it does on any other system.
But does it use software? Mine uses software.
Yep, it even has software. Spreadsheets, databases, desktop publishing, you name it.
Well, then it gets my vote.
Well, thanks for your insight. Look at all the good information you helped remind me of.
Well, that's why I thought I'd speak up. I just figured something like that would happen. I just had a hunch.
The only way to get rid of their bad ideas is to give them what they actually spoke up to get in the first place, which is that moment in the sun, that moment of recognition before moving on to what really counts. The long-range strategy is quite simply break that negative cycle. They'll learn through time that if they want anything more than a brief thank you for something irrelevant that they said, they've got to perform. Through time, they learn the message, to think they know it all.
Your goal with a Think They Know It All is to give their bad ideas the hook. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Backtrack. 2. Ask for specifics. 3. Give them an out. 4. Tell it like it is. 5. Give credit when due.
We're still in the entertainer quadrant. Riddle me this. What exists in a finite space, has a pin, and when you pull it, there's a brief moment of quiet, and then it's the human grenade. Let's watch this person in action.
Now, I want all departments to institute this new procedure right away. I'm convinced this is going to increase our productivity, and our profits are going to go right off the charts.
Well, I don't think we want to go off half-cocked before we do a thorough investigation.
Great. Just great. Am I the only one with vision around here? Does everyone have their head in the sand? Why can't I get any support? Every time I try to do my job, you people drag your feet, and I've had it. I mean, what's the point of even trying? You're all a bunch of stubborn ingrates. None of you care that I'm trying to do my best to make life easier for you. You just go along your merry way. Well, I don't need this kind of torment. I try to contribute, and I get my knees kicked out from under me. Nobody cares. Nobody listens to me. Nobody knows who I am.
Back. Why are they like that? It's the entertainer in us all that needs to be appreciated. If there's threats to self-esteem, we are challenged right at the core. Now, here's a place where we need to be flexible about the window. Now, think about this. Relators, in general, will stuff it, stuff it, stuff it. Why? Because, well, they want to get along with people. They don't want to make waves. But even the best relator in the world, after 10 years, will finally go, I've had enough! I've taken it long enough! And they explode. Now, when they explode, are they still a relator? Is get along the prime directive? No. Now it's like, you're going to notice me. And that becomes the most important directive. When somebody blows up, they need attention. Your goal with this person is to bring them back to their senses as soon as you possibly can. This is a volatile person. You need to act quickly. First thing to do is get their attention. How do you get their attention? Well, first call their name, whatever you know. Frank, hold it, wait a second. Frank! Or their last name, or their gender. Depends how you know them. Second thing to do is raise the volume of your voice. And in fact, this is one place where it's okay to get louder than your difficult person. It's not louder in aggression as much as it's louder in, hello, I'm here, wait a second. And then wave your arms. Wait a second, we have a misunderstanding here. Let's watch this in action.
I want all departments to institute this procedure right away. I'm convinced this is going to increase productivity, and profits should go right off the charts.
Well, I don't think we ought to go off half-cocked before we do a thorough investigation.
Well, great. Just great. Now, am I the only one with vision around here? Does everyone have their head in the sand? Why can't I get any support? Every time I try to do my job, you people drag your feet. And I've had it. I mean, what's the point of even trying?
Henry, hold it. I think we have a misunderstanding here. Henry?
Notice how he waved his hands. You're distracting somebody from their inner thoughts. After all, it's what this person is doing with the information in their mind that's stressing themselves out and getting them to explode. As soon as you see that you've made some kind of contact with this person, you want to aim right for the heart. You want to give them exactly what they need. How do you know? Well, the first thing to do is listen to what they're raving about. If they say, nobody cares around here. You people aren't open to new ideas. Well, then it'd be smart to say, hold it, wait a second. We care, we're open to new ideas. Right to the heart. What I've noticed is that when people blow up, very often there's an internal explosion that goes along with it. Here you have somebody who wants to be appreciated and they're blowing up all over their peers. Not the best way to get appreciation. Very often a grenade is hating themselves on the inside for blowing up on the outside, which makes them even angrier about what's going on the inside, which makes them angry at themselves on the inside, which makes them angry outside, inside, outside, inside, outside. It keeps escalating, bigger and bigger and bigger. I was doing a seminar in Toledo, actually, and a sweet little old lady was really moved by this. All of a sudden she said, "Are you kidding? I've been working with a grenade for 5 years. Are you telling me she actually feels bad after?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Good." I can relate. It's a difficult person to deal with. Usually the two things we'd most like to do is either blow up with them or withdraw and hate them from afar. Both of those behaviors will be like saying, "Would you like a little more gasoline for your fire?" You need to give them what they need. And sometimes the heart that you have to aim for is the internal explosion. This is what we see more often in a personal relationship. You have to validate that you still care about the person, that it's okay that they express themselves, that you're willing to deal with whatever's going on that needs to be dealt with. Sometimes when you hit that heart, it's amazing how fast your grenade will go from boom to na, 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 na. Because they're volatile. They change very quickly. As soon as you hit the heart, you'll notice their behavior change. The intensity level will just begin to shift down. That's when you want to shift down too. All of a sudden, bring your voice tone back down, pull your volume back down, and lead back to normal conversation. And then the fourth step is suggest we take a break. Let's just take a couple of minutes to breathe, and then let's come back and talk about this idea or this issue or whatever needs to be spoken about. Let's see that in action.
Every time I try to do my job, you people drag your feet. I mean, I've had it. What's the point of even trying?
Henry, hold it. I think we have a misunderstanding here,
nobody
Henry.
cares.
Henry, I like your ideas. I think you put a lot of work into your ideas. I don't want you to feel this way at all. You have a lot of good ideas. Now, let's take 10 minutes so we can regain our composure and then come back and talk about it.
If you have no idea what to aim for in terms of the heart, just say there must be a misunderstanding here. It doesn't have to be this way. That's generic enough, it will cover. But if you can hear what they're raving about, try to pace that. Your last action step is a preventative one. It means find the pin and don't pull it. You don't need to gotta be stupid, you know? If you know where it is, avoid it at all costs. So how do you find out? Well, first of all, you just pay attention. You think that, okay, every time this person blows up, there's an opportunity in it for me. I can discover a little bit about them and our relationship and find out what might I be doing that triggers them off. It could be a certain word you used. Maybe it was half-cocked in our example. We don't know. It could be a tone of voice. It could be an expression. Or it could be that you're just being too... I think the person that gets to grenades the most is the nothing person. One lady in a seminar said that she's a grenade and her husband is a nothing person, and 3 years after marriage he admitted that yes, he would do that because he knew it was the best way to get her. And it would, because it drives them crazy. So you want to start paying attention. What's the pin? Try to avoid it. And if you have any kind of relationship with this person, I would suggest that at some time, apart from any uncomfortable situation, when you're feeling okay and it's appropriate, ask them some questions about avoiding misunderstanding in the future, and what is it that got to them in that situation. When you ask these kinds of questions, your grenade will probably begin to volunteer the information you need. Maybe they say something to you like, when people don't listen. Okay, you backtrack. When people don't listen, then clarify. I always thought listening was when sound goes more in the ears, not out the mouth. What do you mean by they don't say anything? Well, sure, they tell me, they listen for a while, but then they give me some feedback. Oh, feedback. Well, how much feedback do you think you would need? Well, and as you keep backtracking, clarifying, you'll find out you can get specific with the grenade. But you do this in a time when things are at peace.
Your goal with the grenade is to bring them back to their senses as soon as possible. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Get their attention. 2. Aim for the heart. 3. Reduce intensity. 4. Take a break. 5. Grenade prevention.
Now we move into the southwest quadrant of the window, the relator quadrant, that place where people who like people are. The relators tend to be people that don't speak up if it might create a problem or say what they think you want to hear, and who may even have a poor task focus, which means they're generally disorganized. All of these things together combine to produce the result of them having trouble making decisions or saying yes when they mean maybe and nothing happening as a follow-through. We go now to a time in our past when a popular musical group was about to appear on a famous national television show, but one member of that group had not yet decided whether or not to even attend that program. Let's hear the sounds of uncertainty.
I mean, John, aren't you going to make the grade?
Paul, don't you know I can't help it? I don't know who can.
There's nothing to get hung about.
Well, let me think about it for a while, and I'll get back to you later.
John, try to see it my way. We only have so much time before I get someone else for the gig.
Well, there will be an answer. Let it be.
That's the maybe person in action. The relator, afraid to hurt someone, so they're sitting on a decision. They put it off. Your number one goal is to get them to make and keep a commitment, which in this case is the commitment to decide. Action step number one, you got to make it safe for them. In general, when you're with a relator, think that you move fast by going slow. Let the ruler part of you breathe and realize that by slowing down, you really will move things forward. So the way you make it safe, to be honest, starts with reassurance. You tell them it's okay that they can be honest with you. You let them know that honesty only is going to enhance the relationship between you. It's only going to enhance teamwork in your organization. You want to speak in terms of people and relationship and keep validating that it is okay for them to tell you the truth. Your second action step is to clarify what the conflict is in terms of making a decision. Where are they stuck? Who are they afraid of hurting? You can tell me. Your third action step then is to help them decide. Well, let's look at the variables here. You could do this. A, what's the worst that could happen? What's the best? Can you live with the worst? Is the best worth it? Okay, let's look at B. What's the worst that can happen here? What's the best? Whatever you do to decide, do it with them. Realize that if you are with somebody who is a strong relator, they are not very decisive, and chances are they've never developed a really strong decision-making strategy because the prime directive has been, I need people's approval. So they haven't learned to be decisive. In fact, your long-range goal is to teach this person to make a decision. Now, this would not be condescending to a relator. It might be to an entertainer whose self-esteem is more on the line. But to somebody who's a relator, this is one person with another helping. This will feel good to them, and in general will pace them. And then what happens here is modeling. You know how there's things your parents said or did that you vowed you would never say or do? And then what happens? It's natural for you to model the people around you. If, over time, you're willing to help your maybe person through decisions, that eventually what will happen is they'll start modeling your decision-making process and own it for yourself. So if you're a ruler in mind, you have to keep this in your awareness so you don't get too intense with this person. Realize you have a long-range goal to overall make it safe and to help them learn to decide. Your third action step is to make sure they make the decision once they do. We call it ensuring commitment. There's three parts to this. First of all, get really specific about what the next action steps are. Don't leave it in some big generalization. So first we're going to do this, okay, and then you're going to write this memo, great, and then this, and then this. Be real specific about it. Second thing to do is reassure them. You're making a good decision. It's going to work out. Let them know that they're doing the right thing. Give them that kind of support afterwards. And then, if you can, keep some action steps in your own court, just to keep the ball moving. Your final action step is really a general one that runs throughout your relationship with this person, and that's called strengthen the relationship. Be people-oriented with them. Talk to them about how they're doing personally. Open yourself up to them a little bit. Every time they're honest with you, make sure you validate. That's great. I really appreciate that you were honest with me. That's really going to enhance our working relationship. Make sure you're appreciating honesty. That which you encourage in another human being is that which you're going to get more of. Let's see if this can help in this difficult situation.
Listen, John, I know you, you know me. We can work it out. Tell me why. John, maybe all you need is love, but just give me some truth. What is it, me old chum, about performing on Ed Shoe?
I feel hung up and I don't know why, but I don't mind. I could wait forever. I've got time.
Don't carry the world upon your shoulders. Let it out, let it in. Hey, John, begin. You can talk to me.
Paul, now that I'm older, I feel so insecure. You know it ain't easy. I wouldn't want to disappoint me fans with a bad show now, would I? But then again, I wouldn't want to let them down with a no-show either. I'm as blue as I can be.
Oh, you don't want to let him down, is that it? This decision's really got a hold on you.
You're looking through me.
So, John, there will be a show tonight. Picture yourself on the tube on the telly with black and white screen and CBSI. They'll love you, yeah?
Yeah. If I could just stop me mind from wandering. Paul, can you whisper words of wisdom?
It's a good decision, John. Just let it be. Let it be.
I suppose I'll get by with a little help from your friends. How will we get to the studio?
Let me take you down, because I'm going to.
Your goal with the maybe person is to get them to make and keep commitments. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Make honesty safe. 2. Help clarify the conflicts. 3. Help them decide. 4. Ensure commitments. 5. Strengthen the relationship.
Rick, could you get me a glass of water? I'm a little thirsty.
Okay.
I mean, could you get me a glass of water?
Sure.
Like now?
Okay.
Okay. So, are you actually going to do it, or are you just going to say you're going to?
No, I'm going to do it, yeah.
Okay, great. Is there a particular time you're waiting for?
Well, no, I'm waiting for the right moment.
You know how moments
yeah,
are. There's
some
the
of
good
them are
ones, and then there's the bad ones. This is not a good moment for me, Rick. No. Could you give me a glass of water?
Okay. Now?
Right now would be very good, Rick.
Sorry.
Very good. That's Yes, people. They say what they think you want them to say. Or they're too disorganized to get together whatever it is they've agreed to. How do you deal with a difficult yes person? Well, realize this person is in the relator quadrant. People focused on others, need for approval. Real go-along person, hesitant to speak up. Now, every one of us here has a part of us that does this from time to time. Can you remember a time in your own personal history when somebody asked you to do something, you said you would, and then something got in the way? Or where you promised to take care of something by a certain time, and then when you got involved with that project, it turned out to be more complicated than you originally thought? And as a result, you got distracted by something else? You know, I can remember when Rick and I were in medical school, I drank more beer and ate more popcorn in medical school than any other time in my own history. And I did this for a reason. I did it because I was good at it. Really, I'd sit down to study and I'd be faced with all this information that I have to remember for the next day for one of those multiple choice tests that goes like this: A, B, C, but not D and E unless E. Or B and C, but not D and A, unless E is happening simultaneously with D. You remember those kind of questions? I had to study for tests like this. I'd sit down, and all of a sudden I get this incredible urge to go turn on the popcorn popper because I knew how. That's that part of us that agrees to do things, and then they don't happen when we say they will. We wind up making excuses. Only some people do this a lot, the yes people. Let's see what happens when people have trouble doing what they say they'll do.
Yes, her tooth just came in today. She just looks so darling.
Jane.
Yes, it's no problem. Of course I'm not too busy.
I've got to talk to you. It's important.
Oh, hi, Ken. Just a second, Madge. It's Ken Bildit. Hi, Ken. How's Sally? Did she tell you I ran into her at the mall on Thursday? Yes, I can get that in the library.
I don't have time to chat. Drop whatever you're doing. I need a press release on the ABC project in 2 hours.
Yes, I can drive it out there. Yes, go on, Ken.
They're going to feature the project tonight on WDDP. Mr. Bittner's got to have prepared material. He'll die on camera without it. I need the copy in 2 hours.
On the network? That's wonderful. Yes, of course I can bring it in person. It's only an hour's drive.
Here's the info. I'll be back in 2 hours for the copy, okay?
Yes, of course I can do that. Whatever you say, Ken.
Jane? Jane! Hi there. I'm out of the office this PM. Leave it on my desk and I'll take care of it tomorrow. Have a nice day. Have a nice day.
Can build it, can build it. Please report to Mr. Bittner's office immediately.
Your goal in dealing with people like this is to realize they're in the relator quadrant, and you're going to help them make and keep commitments. How do you do that? Well, 5 steps. Action step number 1 is to make honesty safe. Now, I have 2 recommendations to make honesty safe, long-term and short-term. The long-term recommendation is that you try pacing them non-verbally for 30 days. If you see them leaning in the hallway talking to somebody, grab somebody and lean in the hallway down at the other end and talk to them. If you can sit next to them in a meeting, sit next to them, and when they nod their head, wait a few moments and then you nod your head. If they're wiggling a pencil, wiggle something else. If you're willing to pace them non-verbally for 30 days, you'll be sending a message to them unconsciously that you're willing to work together with them and have a safe and cooperative relationship. Now, the short-term way of making it safe, to be honest, is to try talking people talk with them when you do interact with them verbally. That means using words like us, we, the team, stronger, good for everyone. People talk, indirect and considerate. Is this a good time to talk? Something I think we could really do to improve our relationship. Make it safe to be honest. Then, number 2, help them focus on the task. Now, when I talk about focusing on the task, I mean literally laying it out and seeing what are the variables involved in getting this to happen. Because when they say they'll get it done by 2 o'clock, that doesn't mean they have any idea what it actually is that needs to get done. Literally laying it out and then prioritizing the pieces of that task. Now, when it comes to prioritizing, here's all you got to remember. Mark Twain said it best. You're going to eat 2 frogs, eat the big frog first. In prioritizing, we're talking about 3 kinds of frogs. Time frogs, difficulty frogs, and reward frogs. Big frog first, that means you do the most time-consuming thing up front. Then everything goes faster. That's the feeling of momentum. Difficulty frogs do the most difficulty thing up front. Everything gets easier. That's the feeling of momentum. Reward frogs, you do the most rewarding thing first, and it pays for everything else down the line that you might want to do. Eat the big frog first. Focus in on the task. Sometimes this means laying out the plan in such a way that you've broken it down into pieces, from point A to point B to point C to point D. If my yes person says they'll get it done by 2 o'clock, I'll say, great, now how much do you think you can get done by 9:30? How much by 10 o'clock? And this brings us to the 3rd action step, which is to help them plan it out, to set up road markers and route numbers and signs that let you know that you're moving forward. Helping them plan it out means handling past excuses. You ever notice how yes people have the same excuses for why things didn't get done? The phone kept ringing. There was too much paperwork, I couldn't get to it. People kept stopping by the office. These are the excuses that people make for not getting things done. So here's how to handle them. If they got people that they say call them and keep them from getting their work done, tell them to get call forwarding and don't go there. Or tell them to wait until they're in the middle of answering them and then hang up. Or tell them to isolate their phone time. Basically, this is my phone time. This is when I handle the phone. Anytime outside of this, it gets prioritized for some time later. This is to help people plan things out. This brings us to action step number 4, which is to ensure commitments. Ensure commitments. And I know 3 ways to do this. Way number 1 is to get the person's word of honor. You know, it's pretty easy to casually say, sure, yeah, you bet. But when you come back and say, look, can I really count on you? Do I have your word of honor that you're going to follow through on what you said? People come in more on what they've said than if you just let them be casual about it. However, you're still doubtful, have them summarize it back to you. When you say you're going to do that, what exactly is it you're going to do? I just want to make sure we're in the same ballpark. If you say, can you get it done by 2 o'clock? And they say yes. You say, what is it you're going to get done? And they say, I'm going to get it done. And you say, by when? And they go, later. Say, all right, now when you say later, when specifically? And keep going, backtracking and clarifying until you get back the information you thought you'd given them. The final way to ensure commitment is to get it in writing. Now, I don't mean say stuff like, I don't trust you, put it in writing. But I do mean saying things like, look, I just want to make sure you have some written record of what it is that you're going to do. Would you mind putting that in your schedule? Get it written down, increase the likelihood of something actually taking place. This brings us to the 5th action step for dealing with yes people. It's called strengthen the relationship. Here's how to do it. Just remember the person's there. Take that extra moment when you walk by to say hello. Smile when they smile. Let them know that you know they're there. Remember, yes people are relators, and relators like people who like people. Best way to build that relationship is to check in with them as a person from time to time. Show an interest in who they are and the way their lives are going, besides just the task at hand. Also, acknowledge their honesty and show appreciation for it when they do tell you concerns that they have. If you say, can you get it done by 2 o'clock? They go, well, I'm not sure. So, you know, I really appreciate you letting me know this up front. Tell me what your considerations are, and let's see if we can handle them so the project can get completed. Let's see this in action.
Yes, her tooth just came in today. She just looks so darling.
Jane.
Yes, of course it's no problem. I'm not too busy. Hi, Ken. Did Sally tell you I saw her at the mall the other day?
Well, yes, she did. She said what a big help you were in picking out that food processor.
Just a second, Madge. Really?
Jane, we have to talk. The marketing team needs your help.
My help?
We've got a problem that we can solve if we work together, but I need your undivided attention.
Madge, I'm going to have to call you back. Something really important just came up. How can I help?
They're going to feature the ABC project tonight on WDDP. Now, Mr. Bittner's got to have prepared material. Here's our raw data. Now, we need you to write the copy in 2 hours. That's by 4 p.m.
I can do that, but I'm swamped with phone calls. I can't just ignore them.
I tell you what, forward your calls to me.
Ken, that's great. I'll write it right after I finish the column for the bulletin. It's due in 3 days.
Jane, we need copy for a half-hour interview. Now, we've already broken down the data for you into the 6 segments that Mr. Bittner needs to cover. How long do you think it'll take you to write each segment?
15 to 20 minutes.
Well, that means you're going to need 90 minutes to 2 hours to finish.
That's just barely enough time.
Hey, I think we can handle it. Do the most difficult part first, the environmental impact statement. And remember, allow yourself only 15 minutes for each part.
But what if I get bogged down?
I'll call you in about 45 minutes, and you can discuss any problems that you've had. Jane, this is the kind of publicity we've all been looking for. And with you on the team, we can't miss.
Well, in that case, I guess I better get started.
Great. I'll call you in 45 minutes, and I'll be back to pick this up at 5 to 4.
Did you watch it?
Old Bittner's never looked better. Now we're swamped with ABC orders. And we couldn't have done it if you hadn't got that copy in on time.
Thanks for the help. It really helped me stay focused.
The marketing team's going over to Rick and Rick's Cafe to do some celebrating. We'd like you to come along.
Say no more.
Your goal with the yes person is to get them to make and keep commitments. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Make honesty safe. 2. Help them focus on the task. 3. Help them to plan it out. 4. Ensure commitments. 5. Strengthen the relationship.
So the next difficult person we're going to talk about is the nothing person. Would you bring out the nothing person, please? Thank you. Well, hi there.
Right here.
Have a seat. Relax. That's right. So if you have anything to say, feel free to speak up. In fact, why don't you tell people about yourself real quickly? Uh-huh. Okay, well, thanks. Pretty verbose, huh?
That about says it all about the nothing person.
Now, realize that when people say nothing, there's really only a few reasons that would prevent somebody from speaking up. For example, they could be thinking things like,
well, if they're a relator, maybe he doesn't want to hurt anybody.
You know, if you speak up, you might rock the boat, make waves, and it wouldn't do any good.
Or maybe he doesn't want people to be mad at him for what he might say.
Yeah, you know, you never know when you're going to say something might offend somebody, or
maybe he really took it seriously. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all.
Just took it to the extreme. But then, of course, it could be an analytic nothing person.
In which case, maybe it's more like, well, great, let it go wrong. Then don't come complaining to me.
And then their silence becomes the hardest argument to refute. Because who can argue with silence?
I don't know, but good luck.
Okay, listen, I'm going to call you if I need you, because this is not an easy case. All right, your goal with somebody who's a nothing person is to get them to talk. And here's how to do it. Action step number 1 is plan enough time. And we could be talking decades here. Just depends on how nothing of a person they are. Plan enough time. Now, there's two kinds of time we're talking about. There's short-term and long-term. Short-term means 15 minutes right now to get them to talk, and then 15 minutes right now every day for the next 5-6 years until they actually have a dialogue. Number 2, ask questions expectantly. Now, there's a special kind of question that you would want to ask. It's what's called an open-ended question. Open-ended means it requires more than a grunt. Questions begin with words like what? What's going on? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? However, it's not enough to ask an open-ended question because it's not what you ask but how you ask it. You must have a certain look on your face when you ask a question of a nothing person. This look is called the expectant look. I'd like all of you to look at me and pace my face. This is the expectant look. I like to see it on all your faces. This is the way you must look when you ask a nothing person a question. You say, what's going on? And then you look like this. Now, if you're uncomfortable with this, practice on crowded elevators. You just pick somebody out and go. And they'll start talking. They will. They go, what? What are you looking at me like? Because the meaning of this look in our culture is that you will talk to me, right? 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 Right. That's the meaning of this look. You must, you know, if you go, what's going on? What's the meaning of that look? Okay? So you got to look like they're about to speak. Now, your third action step is, well, you know, before I go any further, I got to tell you something. Every once in a while, they'll surprise you. They'll actually speak up. Here's what the nothing person says when they say something. They say, nothing. Sometimes they'll get flexible. They'll say, I don't know. And there are questions you can ask when people say nothing and I don't know. And somebody says nothing, you say, what else? Somebody says, I don't know, you say, guess. But be careful, because the nothing person can turn this into a 2-point loop. Goes like this. So what's going on? Nothing. Well, what else? I don't know. Well, guess. Nothing. Well, what else? I don't know. Well, guess. Nothing. What else? I don't know. That's when you say, let's review what's happened so far. In fact, the way to avoid the staring contest is to review what's happened so far. So let's try this out, see if we can get this nothing person to speak. So excuse me, but a little pacing. So what's going on? So a moment ago I asked you what's going on. You haven't answered me. You know, I'm still wondering. What's going on? Rick, you take it from here. This isn't working.
You can always go on to a third action step, which is try guessing what's going on for them. If you can guess at what's keeping them suppressed in nothingness, sometimes you can open them up. I remember one time a state agency sent me a teenage girl who was just sleeping all day, dropped out of school, and she came into my office and sat down. You don't mind if I use this? Okay, good. And just sat there and looked at the floor like this, and the only thing that moved was... And for 35 minutes, no matter what I said, no matter what I did, all I got was... So finally I had enough. I stood up, I said, okay, don't talk. I mean, after all, she wasn't. Sometimes it helps to direct traffic in the way it's going. And I said, well, if I was 17-year-old and I was sleeping all day, what might be going on for me? Well, I'd probably be avoiding something. Maybe I'd be avoiding something at school, probably something at home. What could I avoid at school? Well, probably I don't fit in with the little social classes. And the state agency tells me to go back, and I'm probably so far behind, I'll never catch up. And at home, well, come to think of it, I heard you had a new step-parent. I bet I'd feel left out of that relationship. And as I started just guessing what would be true for me, she went like this. I'm over there. Stop moving, direct eye contact. When you hit with one of your guesses, something will change in the nothingness. Sometimes it's as small as a shift in the facial expression. Other times it's bleh. And in the case I'm describing, it was only 5 more minutes before she was like whoosh, wide open, sharing what was going on in her life. Because if you speak what's going on in someone's mind, it's very powerful. They feel like, wow, you really do understand. And the speaking you're doing is pacing. So if you're with a relator nothing, you may pace like, I understand that maybe you're wanting to avoid a confrontation between us. I have a tendency to be explosive. I certainly can understand how I'd be a difficult person for you. I appreciate that if you don't have something nice to say, you don't say it at all. This kind of pacing can bring them out. Now, if that doesn't work, well, you can try lightening up the situation. Let's face it, you can't really laugh and feel bad at the same time. You can't laugh and hate somebody at the same time. You can, of course, go back to hating them after you're done laughing. But once you lighten it up, it changes the mood. And I would say when you're with children, this is the strategy of choice. Whatever you choose to put out with kids, usually they will take it on, especially young kids. I mean, you know how they are. They fall down. What do? They look for mom and dad. How serious is this? If mom and dad goes, ah! The child goes, oh, I must be dying! But if mom and dad goes, ha, 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 they go, oh, I'm bleeding, that's funny. With kids, lightening up is a good choice. If all else fails, what you can do is try to show your nothing person the consequences of them remaining closed. And this is where it does matter whether you're dealing with a relator nothing person or an analytic nothing person. For example, if this is a relator nothing person, I want to tell them, well, you know, I respect your right to not say anything, but at the same time, it certainly isn't going to help our relationship at all. And, well, what's going to happen? How are we going to be able to work as a team in this department? Well, think about it. Imagine the future. People just come in, everybody's closed, nobody's really talking to each other. I'm going to want to make my consequences in terms of relationship. If I'm dealing with an analytic, forget about the relationship angle. You want to say, look, I know maybe we haven't been listening to some details that are important, but look, when this project gets going, you know it's not going to work out, and you've got information we need. Come on, I really need to hear from you right now. So you make your appeal in terms of what would motivate them. And then last but not least, you can suggest to them true negative consequences, like grievance procedures, what you're going to follow through on should they choose to remain closed. But save the negatives for last. And whenever you present somebody with a negative, I would suggest that you always give them one more positive choice, like, all right, I'll just file a grievance procedure, we'll do this and this and this, or we can talk right now and let's have a little communication. Give them one more choice, because usually that's what you prefer. Let's see if this works. All right, you can remain closed, and I'll tell you what we're going to do. You're going to end up being a dummy in Kmart. Oh well. Sometimes the magic works, sometimes it doesn't.
You know, we tried to think of a skit to illustrate the nothing people.
But we couldn't think of nothing.
I mean, what can you do with them in a skit?
Nothing.
Then we thought, well, maybe they'll feel bad about it, but then we thought,
they won't say nothing.
Your goal with a nothing person is to get them to talk. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Plan enough time. 2. Ask questions expectantly. 3. Guess. 4. Lighten it up. 5. Show the future.
So we're now going to talk about the chronic complainer. This is the analyzer with the ability to find the problems, but never the solutions. Now I want you to understand that the chronic complainer is basically an analyzer gone bad. Because the analyzer has the ability to find problems and examine them and gather the information in order to solve the problems. The truth is about problem solving, the more you know about something, the easier it is to do something about it, right? Take, for example, difficult people. We've been talking about it all this time. How many of you have seen things or heard things that you've been overlooking all this time that you believe you can make a difference in your situation with? Show of hands. That's because we're analyzing, literally analyzing a problem for the details and responding to that information. But the chronic complainer doesn't examine problems for the details. Instead, they have a bag over their shoulder. And they pick up the problems and put them in the bag. They go, boop, 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 there's one. And they pick it up and put it in the bag. And they go, boop, boop, another one. And you know, that bag gets so heavy. And only they know how heavy it gets. But when it's heavy enough, that's when they come to you. And if you open the door, they say, here. And they want you to sign for it, you know? In dealing with a chronic complainer, your goal is to form a problem-solving alliance. You're going to team up with them to get those problems out of the bag where they can take a look at them. Now, for those of you taking notes on this, you may want to put in parentheses a secondary goal. And that is, if you can't form a problem-solving alliance, you can always get them to go away. You take what you can get. Now, here's how to form a problem-solving alliance with the chronic complainer. 5 action steps. Action step number 1 is to listen for their main points. Now, I know you don't like listening to people when they start complaining, but have you ever noticed when somebody complains for a while, you forget where they started? Well, so what I'd like you to do is get something to write on and something to write with. As soon as somebody starts complaining, go, oh, just a moment. Grab something, say, all right, let me have it. They like this. They think it means you're signing for the bag. Now, the benefit of having kept track of the main points is that if they start to repeat themselves, which chronic complainers tend to recycle, you can interrupt them and not have to listen to it again. So when they start to repeat themselves, you interrupt. And by the way, they're easier to interrupt than a tank. All you got to do is clear your throat a little bit. Joe, and they go, what? Action step number 2. Backtrack and clarify. Backtrack and clarify. So you say back to them the main points, then you ask them, now when you say that A doesn't work and the room's to this and this is to that, what specifically are you referring to? Where specifically? And the answer will always be, I don't know, it's just da-da-da-da-da. Because when you ask a complainer to be specific, they can't. The problem's been put away. I don't know. This is good because it leads you to the next step for dealing with a chronic complainer. Action step number 3 is to ask them for a realistic direction. Say, well, based on this conversation that we're having, what would you like to see happen as a result of this conversation? And the answer will be, I want you to do something about it. And this leads to action step number 4. Action step number 4 is to suggest a course of action. Suggest a course of action. Say things like, you know, you seem to know a lot more about this problem than I do. So here's what I suggest or recommend. I suggest you get something to keep track of this in, a journal, a notebook, and write down where it happens, when it happens, what happens, who's there when it happens, how it happens. In other words, to track the problem in writing. Also, as you suggest this course of action, you want them to think in terms of solutions. I want you, as you're keeping track of this problem, to think in terms of what are 3 things I could do to solve this problem, or 3 things that could take place that would solve this problem. But I don't know. Well, that's why you're going to be gathering this information. Put a time limit on it. You want to get them into details, and that includes details about time. Say, I want you to bring this back to me in 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. Set a time limit. And then it's time for action step number 5, which is to complete the interaction. This is where you say to them things like, well, listen, I'm glad we had a chance to talk. If you have any other problems, let me know, and walk them toward the door. And in fact, if they say things to you like, but I don't have time for that, you say, well, if you change your mind, let me know. And it's very important you say this appropriately. And appropriately means you put your arm around their shoulder and walk towards the door as you say the first sentence phrase. If you change your mind, and then you say, let me know, and push out the door. Now, they've got 2 choices. Choice number 1 is they can go out and gather the information. And in the process of gathering it, they may solve the problem, but at least they'll bring you back some high-quality, evaluative feedback that will lead to some kind of resolution of the problem. The other choice is they may just go away. Like I say, if that's the one you get, take what you get and count your blessings.
Come.
It's me, sir, your first mate, Pete.
I know who you bloody well are. We've been sailing together for 25 years.
Now, sir, I ain't said nary a word about all the problems aboard this here bucket.
Ha! Nary a word, is it? It's me who hasn't got a word in edgewise count of your belly aching.
Now, sir, that ain't fair. And by the way, sir, It's the food. Sir, I can't tell if it's a curry or a cream sauce anymore. And, sir, it gets me a terrible heartburn if it's a curry. And if I can't tell if it's a curry, I lay awake in me cabin all night long worrying if it's a curry. And, sir, that combined with the temperature in me cabin, it gives me nightmarish thoughts, sir. And then I'm worrying all the night. And even if I fall asleep, so I can't sleep because...
Pete!
Aye, sir.
We'll see about the temperature in the cabin. We'll do something about the food. Now get out of my cabin before I reinstitute the custom of walking the plank.
Aye, aye, sir.
Oh, bloody complainers. Some of them stay longer in a minute than regular people do in an hour. Who is it?
It's me, sir. Just a word with you, if I might.
1 minute. Now, where are those notes I took from that dealing with difficult people video I saw last time I was in port? Ah, here it is. Complainers. Listen for the main points, then interrupt. Okay, Pete, come on in.
Why, thank you, sir. Sir, I'd just like to clarify a bit of what I was telling you a while back. I'm not sure if you really understand what it's like.
I want to understand.
To not know what it is you're eating, sir. I mean, I like food, sir, but not the kind of food that ain't got no flavor, except in the kind of flavor what ain't no flavor at all. I lay awake in me cabin, sir, worrying if it's a curry, and that combined with the temperature in the cabin, sir, I get these nightmarish thoughts. It's worse than dreams,
all right,
sir. You don't know
Pete,
yes,
Pete,
Aye, sir.
Let me make sure I understand the problem. The issue is the food on board this ship.
That's right, sir.
Because you're having a problem with heartburn. And the fact is, you can't tell a curry sauce from a cream sauce.
No, sir, I can't.
And then you worry if it's curry all the livelong day. Because that combined with the temperature in your cabin produces nightmarish thoughts that keeps you up all night. All right.
Sir, it's the living age.
It is. Let's see.
You have no idea what it's like.
Step 3, ask for a realistic direction.
I like me eggs soft. You know,
Pete.
Aye, sir.
You said you like your eggs soft in the morning. Well, what do you want?
Well, sir, I want you to do something about that meathead of a cook, sir.
You want me to do something about that meathead of a cook, huh?
Aye, sir. Because I lay awake in me cabin night after night, worrying if it's a
course of
I
action.
don't know what it is on those plates that he's serving up, sir.
Pete,
yes, sir.
We're going to do something about this problem.
That's what I like to hear, sir.
And you know what?
A man of action you are, sir.
I am, and I find to make things change, it helps me to keep a journal. And you seem to have such an eye for these problems. I'm hereby assigning you to keep a journal of this problem. I want to know where it happens. I want to know when it happens. I want to know when. I want to know who. I want all the details. I want you to write this all down and then bring it back to me, say, in 2 months. And then we'll do something about it. Anything else before you go, Pete?
But, sir, I don't have time to keep track of it like that.
All right. Well, if you change your mind, let me know. Thanks, R&R.
Now, I want to caution you before I review this, there are 4 things never to do with a chronic complainer. We call these the complainer don'ts. Don't agree with them. Don't disagree with them. Don't try to solve their problems for them. You can't. And number 4, never, ever, ever feed them after midnight. No. Never ask them why. Because if you do, they multiply. Now, don't agree, don't disagree, don't try to solve their problems for them, and never ask them why, because I'll tell you, this happened to me. A woman walked up to me after a seminar one time, and my brain had stopped working at about 4 o'clock. But I still tried to answer her question. She said, you know, we have a chronic complainer in our department. And I was so tired that I didn't hear the full impact of her communication. I said, oh, that must be terrible. In other words, I agreed with her. She said, oh, it is. You have no idea what it's like. I said, well, you must take great comfort in realizing that now you're in a position to do something about it. And she said, but it won't work. I said, and I was just trying to handle it quick, I said, I disagree with you. He said, well, you just don't know what it's like. And she went all over it again. So I'm trying to get this over with because it's really late in the day. I was very tired. I said, well, did you try this? And that wouldn't work. Did you try this? I went to public brainstorming, basically. I went through 5 things that I hadn't even covered in the program. To each one, she said, oh, you can. It wouldn't work. They never will. And all of a sudden, it hit me. I'm talking to the chronic complainer. Let's see now. I've agreed. I've disagreed. Tried to solve her problems. What the heck? Why won't it work? Because, and she started all over again from the very beginning. And that's when I went to the strategy for dealing with the chronic complainer.
Your goal with the chronic complainer is to form a problem-solving alliance. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. Listen for main points. 2. Backtrack and clarify. 3. Ask for realistic direction. 4. Suggest a course of action. 5. Complete the interaction.
Our next difficult person is the chronic no person. Rick, go ahead, tell them about the no person.
What would be the point?
Well, so that they can learn it.
They can't learn it.
Well, come on, you don't know that.
It's obvious to anyone that takes a look.
Well, they learned it in Cincinnati.
They forgot it the next day, I guarantee it.
Let's just give it a try. What do we have to lose?
Why bother?
Do you recognize the no person in action?
Won't.
You can go. Please. Here we have another analytic gone bad. What they do is they take their attention to notice details and put it on the details of what's not working with everything. This person is more deadly than a speeding bullet, able to make you want to jump out a window in a single bound, and who, disguised as a mild-mannered member of your department, fights a never-ending battle for futility, hopelessness, and despair. And that is the danger of the no person. They become a black hole in our space and take the energy right out of us, and we go right down the drain with them. Your goal with the no person is maintain your perspective. Give yourself that emotional distance. And how you do that has 5 steps. It begins, number 1, with see them as a resource. They must be good for something. Think of them as character building. Let's face it, if you want to build muscle, you push against weight. If you want to build character, hang out with a no person and try to be positive. This will be useful. Something else that you can do is when they give you problems, do not disagree with them, do not agree, but just backtrack and help get specific. Find out more about the problems. This is another way that you're going to use them as a resource. See, this person is a smoke detector for problems. They're going to notice it before anybody. And there is some validity to that, and if you can notice problems ahead of time, well, then you can do something about it and handle it. So that's another way you can use them as a resource and maintain your perspective. Our third action step is to look for intent behind the behavior. See, if you are really with somebody who's chronically negative, chances are they've had some major hurts and disappointment in their life, and negativity is a way of protecting themselves. They think, you know, behind every silver cloud is a dark lining. They think, don't get your hopes up and you won't be disappointed. And they're such caring individuals, they want to do that for you. Now, it is possible that by looking for this positive intent behind their behavior and expressing that to them, you can actually get your no person to make a shift. Let me give you an example. I play hockey, gym hockey, plastic 6, plastic puck with a group of Russian guys. Love the sport, been playing for 3 years. When I first discovered it, I'm just checking out what's okay and what's not. I'm in the opposing team's end, and this guy, Vladimir, ties me up. And I figure, okay, I guess that must be okay. So 30 seconds later, he's in my end, and I tie him up. And he goes, you cannot do this, it's tough. What do you think? You come in the first time you do this, blah, 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 blah. Like this. And I'm like, wait a second, buddy. First of all, I was blah, blah, blah. We get into this big thing. All right. I went home very happy to discover gym hockey, but disappointed in myself that I finally met the Russians, and already I'm at war with one of them. So I decided peace starts right here. I'm going to make peace in my relationship. I go back next week, and I sit down in the locker room. I say, listen, I hope there's no hard feelings about last week. And he goes, no, this is okay. Now notice what I do. I don't assign blame to me or him. I just take the pass and go, that was that. And then I move for the future. I say, let's play together this week. And so we got up on the court, and what we discovered is we play hockey in the same quadrant. For us, it's get it right. It's not about winning. Neither of us want to score a goal that bounces off somebody's foot. We like to make the right play, fake out the goalie, and score the goal. All of a sudden, he had found a match, not only in attitude, but in talent. And I could pass where I thought he was, and he'd be there. It was a marriage made in heaven. The problem is that this guy was so negative, he'd always be telling people, what? You have a broken leg today? You cannot run? You know what pass puck means? So even though we got along great, nobody wanted to play with us because they didn't want to be with him, right? So I said to him one time, you know, I think it's great how much you care about people learning how to play hockey. well. And he goes, what? And I said, well, obviously you care a lot. You certainly put a lot of energy into letting people know what they do wrong. Why would you do that if you didn't care about them learning what to do right? He goes, I suppose. Okay, I left it at that. But for the next 3 weeks, every time he was negative, I walked up to him and I said, thanks. They'll learn. We'll teach them. We'll all be good sooner or later. Yep. Always some statement that implied that that's where he was coming from. 3 weeks later, we're in the locker room. I want to test to see if he's starting to own this idea. I say to him, so, listen, you're a guy who cares about people getting better, aren't you? And he goes, yes, this is true, so. Aha, you see, he's accepted this. He's ready for the next step. I say, Vladimir, have you noticed that people aren't really getting better around here? And he gets real serious with me, and he sincerely says, yes, Rick, do you think they're stupid or something? I said, not stupid, but if what you're doing isn't working, do something different. Let's be flexible. Let's try telling what they do right for a while. And being a true negative person, he was real negative about that. But, you know, what did we have to lose? He went up there. He started being a little more positive. In 1 month, he was about 50-50 positive. And you know what was really interesting? I was the only person who noticed. Because everybody else was operating out of their old assumptions. Oh, yeah, he's Mr. Negative. Of course, I pointed it out to them, and then their attitudes began to shift, which pulled him out of the negativity. And he actually made a serious change. So if you care enough and you're willing to stay with it, your third action step is look for some positive intent behind their behavior and start validating them for speaking up, for caring enough to point out problems, the importance of noticing problems up front. Validate, validate, validate. And as they start to accept more positive ideas about themselves, you can move them in a positive direction. Your fourth action step is go for the polarity response. This means that very often they'll do whatever is opposite in a particular situation. So if you have an idea and you're prepared with all the negatives ahead of time and you're pretty negative about the negatives, they may just go, you're right, but here's what we can do about it. And suddenly they shift roles. I'm amazed at how, when I do counseling in my practice, people will come in really negative and depressed about themselves. I'll suggest things and they'll say, oh, it won't work, it's hopeless, it's no use. I say, let's set goals. They go, oh, I won't achieve them. And finally, if all else fails, I go, you're right. You're the most hopeless person I've ever met in 8 years. And invariably they say, come on, I'm not that bad. And I go, yes, you are. And they go, no, I'm not. And they go, let's set some goals. And I go, no, you won't achieve them. They go, please, I'll do them. It's amazing. Go for the polarity response. And then last but not least, include your negative people in the rewards. So let's say you work at a department and somebody's been dragging their feet and being negative, and you do something and it does work out. Resist the urge to go, I told you so. Include them. Bring them in as if they've been a part of the team. This, again, is projecting this positive intent on them. And sometimes, if you're willing to stick with this, this too can produce a result. A guy came up to us after a seminar and said, you know, we did that with a negative person, and it worked. Not dramatically, but it worked. After the fourth time of including them in the rewards, they came up to the supervisor and they said, you know, maybe things can really change for the best. But I doubt it. Oh, well. But they got a little change. Include them in the rewards. And without further ado, let us take you to the Bay Area and tune in our radio to that famous Bay Area psychologist, Siegfried von Kunkhausen.
So, welcome back to the Ask Siggy the Shriek Show, the talk show at night for people with problems. Thanks to our sponsor on our watches. I wear one, and it works pretty good sometimes. Okay, let's go to line 3. We got a caller, Dave. Hello, Dave. What's your problem, huh?
Hi, Siggy. Well, I work with a no person. 3 months ago, I was a happy man. I'd just been hired. A major career move. My wife was proud. My mom was proud. Finally, she stopped comparing me to the kids I grew up with. But now, look at me. I'm a wreck. I used to be the idea man, the rising star of the last company. But now the only idea I have is to kill that guy. But that would be wrong. What am I to do?
Now, Dave, when you get kicked in the rear, it means you're in front. Can't be that bad.
Well, that's what I said to him, Siggy, for 3 months. But he was right. It is that bad. It's hopeless. I'm exhausted.
Okay. Listen up, Dave. First things first. You need some perspective, young man. Each day, did you know that your heart beats 103,369 times? Your blood travels 168 million miles. You breathe 23,400 times. You generate 450 tons of energy. You move 750 muscles. You exercise 7 billion brain cells. My dear young man, it is perfectly normal to be tired.
You don't understand. Nobody does. I used to have so much energy till I started working with Ron at Broom and Company. I told my wife they should call it Doom and Company. Ron's the Doom and I'm his company. Then I go home and I take it out on my family.
Well, listen here now, that's okay too. Home is where you go when you're tired of being nice to people. Now let me see if I understand your problem, Dave. 3 months ago, you were an energetic rising star who's now a falling star because you work with a man named Ron at the Broom and Company whose response to everything you say and everything you do is that it won't work and it's hopeless.
Why, yes. How did you know that?
Even a stopped clock is right twice a day, Dave. Now, is it possible that this fella seems otherwise to be very thoughtful and very capable?
Well, it's unbelievable. He certainly is. He's an intelligent man. He manages to block every attempt at problem solving.
Well, experience is a hard teacher, Dave. She gives the test first and the lesson after. Would it be safe to say that he seems deeply bitter and angry, as if somehow fate has overpowered him and he is helpless to change anything, and that's a fact?
Siggy, you're amazing. You must know him.
You don't have to be in Who's Who to know what's what. No, I do not know him, but I know a lot about this type of behavior.
Well, Siggy, please, tell me how to deal with him before I lose my grip on reality. I'm just ready to give up.
Well, personally, Dave, I am neither for nor against apathy. But really, young man, there's no call for such desperation. First, you must maintain your perspective. Breathe, Dave, right now and every time you're around him or even thinking about him. He has no power over you.
Well, you know, Siggy, now you mention it, I've been through tough times before, and I've always managed to learn from him and then move forward.
That's the spirit of realistic optimism, Dave. You know, an optimist is often as wrong as a pessimist, but he has a lot more fun. Now, you shouldn't try to persuade him to change his mind, Dave, because if you're quick to offer solutions, I guarantee you he'll find a flaw in it and tell you it won't work all over again.
Right. He's so pessimistic.
Well, Dave, listen, a pessimist thinks the world is against him, and it is. Instead, thank him for focusing in on the details with you. You know, sometimes this alone will make him change his behavior. If for no other reason, it's because it confuses him, and you feel better. Try backtracking and clarifying to get specific with him about the issues facing you. After all, this kind of negative person could be an early warning system for problems.
I get it. He'll be a learning experience for me.
That's good, my boy. Next, when you finally do talk solutions, bring up the negatives before he does. And above all else, Dave, keep your perspective. Just remember, no matter what happens, there's always somebody who knew that it would.
Siggy, thank you. I am feeling so much better.
You're welcome. And remember, Dave, some final words here. Always drink from the side of the cup nearest you. Otherwise, you spill the drink all over yourself. Thank you and goodbye. Well, that's all the time we have for today's Ask Siggy the Shrink radio show. Stay tuned for Old Time Radio. Today's feature, The Difficult People to Date Cleveland. And remember, when dealing with difficult people, maintain your perspective. Bye-bye for now.
Your goal with the no person is to maintain your perspective. Here are the 5 steps to remember. 1. See them as a resource. 2. Backtrack and ask for specifics. 3. Look for intent. 4. Go for polarity. 5. Include them in the rewards.
Well, we've just spent quite a bit of time looking at, thinking about, and talking about difficult people. And we hope that you've learned what you've come here to find out. about how to deal with them more effectively. We would like to review this entire program for you by giving you 10 action steps that you can make commitments to bringing about a change in your relationships with difficult people.
So, action step number 1, weigh the value. Be clear it's worth it to you. If it's not worth it to you, if you try to pace them, you'll only frustrate yourself. Really be clear that the end result is worth what it'll take.
Action step number 2. Eliminate peanut butter and aim yourself in a positive direction. What do you want? See, hear, feel, say results. What do I want to see, hear, feel, and say? A sensory-based description of an outcome is better than wishful thinking, because where there is no vision, the people exhaust themselves and perish.
Your third action step is to take that direction, sum it up in some sort of statement, and post that in places where it will remind you of what your goal is. Put it in your car, or in your dashboard, or on your desk, or wherever is appropriate for you. The point here is you want your reticular activating system to be going doot, 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 and reminding you, oh yeah, I'm supposed to pace this person, pace this person, pace this person.
Action step number 4 is to pay close attention to their style and your style. Are they trying to get it done, get it right, get along, or get appreciated? What are you going for? Remember, this is one of the fastest ways to reduce the difference between you and another person in order to create the likelihood of cooperation.
Your fifth action step is think in terms of opportunities. Every single time you're with your difficult person, there's an opportunity in it for you to understand them a little bit more, for you to get a little better in handling them. If you start thinking in terms of opportunities, then right away you'll be feeling better because you won't feel as victimized by them.
Action step number 6 is positively replaying past experiences with difficult people. Take what you've learned in this program and go back to the last time you wish you'd known what to do and try it out. And try it out and try it out until it feels normal for you to be doing that new behavior. This makes it automatic and gives you the chance to use your brain on purpose.
Action step number 7 is a mental one. And it's believe it's possible to get the result you want. And if believe is too strong, pretend will do just fine. Just look around you where there's light, where people fly. If we can get to the moon, then somehow, some way, it must be possible for me to get the result with my difficult person. And as you think that, so you'll keep being flexible.
As you believe, so shall it be. Now, action step number 8 is to, geez Louise, give them a break. You know, sometimes it really is a personal problem that has nothing to do with you. People have all kinds of stresses and strains in their lives, and if they haven't got a clear set of values to operate from, all that's left is to manage the crises that continually occur. So give them a break. Realize that their but for fortune goes you as a difficult person, and that somebody somewhere else may even think of you that way. Give them a break.
Our 9th action step is self-appreciation. That means that if you're watching this program, know for a fact that there's at least 1,000 people, to be conservative, who probably could use this program and didn't decide to follow through and watch it. You are the few special people who are not willing to sit around and whine about the way things are, but were actually willing to do something about it. And so you deserve to be appreciated for that.
And action step number 10 is watch this program again and again and again. Because if you integrate everything that's been talked about in this program into your behavior, you'll find yourself doing new things in effective ways in the days and weeks and months that lie ahead.
So to conclude, let us pass on this piece of advice from our daughters Aiden and Carly, who told us it takes 40 muscles to frown and 30 to smile.
So don't overwork. Just remember that life isn't a test.
It's an actual emergency.
Thank you.
We're R&R.
This has been How to Deal with Difficult People by Dr. Rick Brinkman and Dr. Rick Kirschner. For your complete catalog of Career Track seminars and audio and videotape programs, please call toll-free 1-800-334-1018. Thanks for watching, and congratulations on making Career Track your success company.